Hello, and welcome to Cannabis, the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tori. Each episode will feature a candid conversation about how the cannabis plant has positively impacted individuals' wellness and bliss. Here to honor the plant and have fun. Hello, everyone. Hi, Cannabis listeners. Tonight, I'm talking with Jordan Person of Primal Therapeutics and Primal Healing. She is both patient and cannabis professional. So we have a full episode tonight. Jordan, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, first and foremost. I love what you're doing. I think that you are an inspiration, and I feel honored to talk with you today. So thank you for having me on. My name is Jordan Person. I've been a nurse for almost 20 years. I've been doing massage for 13 years, and I own two wellness-based companies, Primal Therapeutics, Cannabis Massage, and Primal Healing. We make organic topicals and skincare.
Fantastic. So we're really going to break all of this down. The nursing piece really intrigues me. As you know, my background as a pharmacist as well. So anytime we can add that like medical credibility to the cannabis community, I get excited. So what was your first experience with cannabis like, Jordan?
So I was 16 years old. I had made a pact with my best friend that we were never going to smoke pot. We were both big time goodies. She was set to be the valedictorian of our high school, and I was not on that track, but I was, just a real big goody. I made fun of people that did drugs, and we were at a party with her older sister, and I lost her for like an hour. I couldn't find her, and I started going into all these closed-doored rooms. And I found her with the tube of a hookah in her mouth. And when the door opened, she exhaled. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, try it with me." And that was pretty much it.
Okay.
I continued consuming. In high school, I would say that it was on the weekends in the beginning. Then it became every day after school. I always wondered if my grandparents actually knew what we were doing in the backyard. But we would have all my friends come over, and it became a daily ritual for me. And it provided me with balance, and I didn't understand why. It wasn't until years later I understood that we have an endocannabinoid system, and I really, truly was feeling balance.
The stigma wasn't an issue after that point. You were just like, okay, this was my full experience and I'm signed on.
I actually got voted most changed of my senior class because I went from being the school's biggest goody to the school's biggest pothead.
Wow, that is fascinating. Okay.
And I honestly, for me, it wasn't, I don't know, there was no stigma attached. It made me feel better.
Right.
And so even though I couldn't explain that because I was a teenager, I knew inside how it made me feel. It wasn't until years and years later, when I was 29, I became very sick. And at one point I was prescribed 13 pharmaceuticals.
Yikes.
And I started to begin to feel like a toxic waste dump. And the only thing that ever made me feel better was when I either smoked cannabis or I ate edibles. And so that's really what began my journey into cannabis. It's what made me move to Colorado from Florida, because the sicker I got, the more I wondered, if this plant was really going to help me, then I should probably move somewhere where it was legally and medically available to me.
Right. And I've heard you use the term cannabis refugee. I haven't heard that before, honestly, but it makes so much sense. A lot of people do move to Colorado and various places to experience cannabis in a non-judgmental and free way.
Oh, absolutely. And when I first got here, I received so much judgment from my family, from my friends back home, from everyone but the people that were here. I felt I was home for the first time in my life. I was surrounded by people that were like-minded, that had similar interests. And I just felt comfortable, even though I was completely alone.
Mhm.
I, made friends with dispensary, workers and owners, and I would spend time learning about the different strains and why different strains were effective for me, and just really trying to understand the plant.
So did you consider your use medicinal before you got sick?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I didn't know that that's what it was called. I never put a term to it.
Right.
But now that I live in a place where we have both recreational and medical available, I just saw a meme the other day that said, recreational is medicinal, medicinal is recreational. It's one and
Yeah, totally.
and I feel that the plant itself is medicine. And if we were to discover it tomorrow, it would be one of the largest medical discoveries that's ever been made.
Yes.
So, whether you want to say that you consume it when you get off work and that's considered recreational because it makes you relax, you're using it for the medicinal property of relaxation.
Mhm.
So I think it just depends on how you look at it. But for me personally, every time I use it, it's medicinal. I'm
Right.
nauseous all the time from all my surgeries, so I consume and my nausea gets better, the pain
Fantastic.
better, etc. So yeah.
So what was your experience in the nursing field with cannabis? Because, as a pharmacist, it was completely taboo. And even now to be
Oh
talking about it, I'm like, I don't know if this is the most responsible or professional, but hey, the
yeah.
word needs to get out.
Absolutely. So as a nurse, I did consume in my off hours. None of my coworkers were really ever privy to the information that I was a consumer. I remember the day that I had to tell my very favorite nursing boss of all time. She wanted me to do this contract in a plastics clinic. And I had to be honest with her and tell her that I was going to fail the drug test.
Mhm.
And I remember, I'll never forget the look on her face. She said, I don't think you're supposed to tell me that. Your boss. And I was like, well, I really want to still work with you. I just can't work at that one particular place because it's going to come back positive that I consume cannabis every day. And
Mhm.
she was so floored by my honesty that you could tell that she was really trying to decide whether or not she was going to let me go that day. And I
Mm.
said to her, you tell me all the time that I'm one of the best nurses you have working for this company. Understand that I'm still that best nurse that's
Mhm.
working for this company. I just now have given you the information that I also smoke weed every day.
Yeah.
Can't change your opinion of who I am as your employee because you know something new about my personal life. And she didn't. And I kept my job, and to this day she's still a close colleague and friend of mine, and she comments every time I do something here in this industry because she saw me every day as a nurse and knew who I really was, but no one else could know.
Mhm.
And so moving to somewhere where there was a medical program and I could say, this is who I am and this is what I do. And if you don't like it, take my license away.
Right.
That's the point that we're at right now.
Yeah.
And luckily, neither of the boards came after me at any point.
Yeah, no, but it is a legitimate fear, and I've heard and met doctors who are medical patients and lost their licenses. So it's still
Mhm.
this in between, but just to be able to be honest and like that is relief in it of itself.
Absolutely.
So I'm also curious. It's a little sidestep. Where did the massage therapy come in? So you're quite holistic. You're quite integrative. I love hearing this.
So, I had been a nurse for almost, what was it? It was probably like 8 years. And as a nurse, I constantly looked for my niche. I was always, I did everything from oncology, geriatrics, Alzheimer's care, correctional facilities, hospice care, every floor of a hospital. Um, and I never found where I wanted to be for years.
Mhm.
And it didn't matter how much I tried. And In 2005, both of my grandparents who raised me and were basically my life, both of them passed away. And under my care, I got to be, their nurse at the very end of their life. And I told my grandmother on her deathbed that I couldn't be a nurse anymore. And she begged me to not stop taking care of people.
Mm.
And I told her that I didn't know if I could make that promise because I was so burnt out. And a few months after she died, a friend of mine owned a florist, and she was stripping roses for like 3 straight hours. And by the time I got there, she had this huge like welt on her elbow from a repeated motion. And she said, "Oh my God, my arm is killing me. I can't even straighten it." And I said, "Well, let me help you. Let me see if I can fix it." And I grabbed some lotion that was sitting there and I just started mashing her arm, kind of feeling the way the striations of the muscles were and trying to make this mass kind of go down. And a few minutes later, it was gone. And she looked at me and she said, "What did you just do?" And I said, "I have no idea." And she said, "Well, what do you mean you have no idea?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I could feel that there was something wrong and I just kept pushing things around until it felt right again." And she was like, "Jordan, my God, you need to become a massage therapist." And I was like,
Amazing.
holy crap. So I interviewed at several schools and I finally found one that I really liked. And 16 months later, I was a massage therapist.
That is so dope.
Yeah,
Very
and it
cool.
was it was incredible. I About a year after I graduated, I went to Kauai and I got certified in Lomi Lomi and Hot Stone.
Ooh.
And those 2 treatments really kind of helped set me apart and shape my career into even more of a holistic wellness based practice. And then when I became sick, I didn't work for 2.5 years.
Wow.
I had 6 major surgeries during that time and did not work at all. So when it was time for me to return to the workforce, I couldn't just, you know, go be a nurse, and I couldn't
Mhm.
just go be a massage therapist because my body had been mutilated so many times that I couldn't, I couldn't do it. And
Yeah.
so I managed a medical marijuana dispensary for almost a year, and I became very complacent. And I realized that I needed to do something. And I came home one day and I was very frustrated with my life. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And my ex said to me, you know so much about cannabis and you know so much about being a nurse and being a massage therapist. There has to be a way that you can combine everything you know. And I very sarcastically lashed out at him and I said, "Well, what do you want me to do? Rub cannabis all over people and tell them that it's good for them?"
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he said. He said, "Hell yeah, that sounds awesome." And I was like, "Well, what does it do?" And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, how am I supposed to do this?" And he said, "Google it." So I sat down and I Googled cannabis infused massage and nothing came back.
Mm.
And this was, over 5.5 years ago. And I said, "I don't understand, how can nothing exist?" And we had just passed the recreational legalization of cannabis here in Colorado. And so the reason it had never been documented was because it had never been legal.
Right.
No one could ever say that this is what they had done. And so it began as one huge science experiment because there was no mentors, because there was no one for me to ask and say, "How did you do this? What does it do to the human body? Am I going to be so high I can't leave their house?"
Mhm.
There was no one to ask. And so, like I said, it just began as one huge science experiment.
That's so amazing. Google is every entrepreneur's, um, playbook. So for you to not have anything turn up, it's like, oh shit.
Exactly. Oh, shit was right.
So, okay, I'm piecing this all together. What would you say was your call to honor the plant?
It was truly when I realized after my final surgery, which was on December 12th, 2012, I had a liver
Mm.
resection and they removed 60% of my liver.
Wow.
I got out of the hospital roughly 8 days later, and I felt healthier than I had ever felt in my life. And I was only using cannabis. As soon as I got discharged to home, I took myself off of all the opiates, anything that they had me on. And I utilized tinctures, I smoked, I ate capsules, I did whatever I could, and consumed cannabinoids in any form. And I realized, I don't know, it was some point right around then, at the end of 2012, I realized that the plant itself was what had taken me to where I was.
Right.
And when I started my company, I had the same epiphany again, because there were never any stop signs. You know how, like, when you're trying to do something in life and like it doesn't work out, and you keep beating your head against the wall, and you're like, why is this happening? Why is this not working out? I want so much for this to work out, but you don't accept from the universe that maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing. I had those moments the whole time I was a nurse, the whole time I was just doing regular massage. The moment I decided to stand on a soapbox and tell everyone that they should be using cannabis instead of pharmaceuticals, the doors began to open. I'm giving myself goosebumps by talking.
No, I literally.
Every single time I wanted a new patient, or I wanted to be able to convey this message, I was never met with someone that said no. Everyone said yes. Everyone said, tell me more. And the people that began as naysayers that I had known my whole life are now my biggest fans, and all use my products, and all message me random questions throughout, the year about this plan, and can I help their cousin or whoever. And so for now, it's been years, but it was a series of epiphanies that made me realize that this is it. This is my life's work. This is what I'm supposed to be doing with the rest of my life. I owe my life to the plant. It saved my life in every way. Plant medicine in general, milk thistle, chamomile, all several herbs, but just devoting myself to what saved my life, I feel, is what I'm supposed to do now.
That's so fantastic. And you're thriving. It's obvious. So what came first? The massage or the topicals, or both were born at the same time?
So the massage was first. I began by purchasing every topical that was made at that time. I remember I went to a few different dispensaries, and like I said, I purchased everything that they had. And I'll never forget the first patient's house that I went to. They were a regular client of mine. It was a husband and wife. And I said, so I have this idea. I would like to rub cannabis all over your body. And when I'm done, I'm going to ask you some questions. And they both said, what? And I said, I know. We just legalized the recreational use though. So it's totally legal. I bought all of these at a dispensary. And so I just, I'm asking your permission to try it out, because I honestly have no idea what's going to happen to you. And surprisingly, 100% of my patients said yes.
That's dope.
No one.
I mean, I would say yes.
Crazy. Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I mean, I've been a nurse for a long time. I've been a massage therapist for a long time. I'm certainly not going to hurt you. So, then I started to run into the issue where I didn't have a product. There wasn't a product that existed that was what I needed for my patients. And so I'd say 6 months in, I started kind of tinkering around. I had been making cannabis butters for a long time. So I figured, I can try to figure something out extraction wise.
Sure.
And so then I began taking classes in herbalism, because I wanted to try and understand better, what herbs were, what plants are, why do they work in our bodies. And that then began the evolution of working on my recipe. And, I gave patients hives a couple times. But of course I was always so forthcoming with what I was trying to do, and they understood it. And so it was an incredible process, just working the recipe out. And then it began as, just kind of selling them to my patients and people that my company worked on. And then, now in January, I launched the CBD only line, so that we can get it into spas and chiropractic settings and yoga studios and wellness providers, so that they can truly educate their patients and provide them with something that's going to be a good answer for their conditions that's not a pharmaceutical remedy.
Love it. And I have tried the salve and it's such a beautiful consistency. So then you scaled it even farther. You're teaching cannabis massage. So it's not just your company, you're teaching others as well.
That is exactly right. I wrote a curriculum. I was reached out to by countless massage therapists around the world. I couldn't even figure out how they were finding me, other than my website. And it's just because cannabis massage is still a new modality. It's still, barely being recognized by most massage boards, but it is, however, being recognized by the spa industry. And so after being reached out to by all of these individuals, I decided to create a curriculum. And so it's, let's see, I think the book is up to 56 pages, and I have corresponding slides and lecture content. And I teach the class online, in person, and then also one-on-one. Our next one
Cool.
is at the end of June. But I've taught women from 21 states and 3 countries. And it's incredible. I feel like I have this whole army of pioneers around the country and the world that are doing this incredible work, and they are healing their patients every day. And I'm so proud of all of them, and I love them all so much. I keep in touch with almost all of my students. The ones that, interact the most. I, of course, we talk all the time, but it's been incredible just getting to know these women. I say women because we've only taught one man so far. So any men that are listening that are massage therapists, if you want to change your modality and change your life, plant medicine can do that.
Holler.
Yeah.
So what have you deducted from your research? Can you tell us a little bit, or like some basics about cannabis massage? How do you market it, I guess? How do you not convince people but share the knowledge about it?
Absolutely. Well, what's been so interesting is that a lot of people in this time in 2019 are searching for whole body wellness. They are searching on the internet for options, because people are tired of being sick, and people are beginning to understand that there is a perpetual cycle in our country of pharmaceutical use and doctor's visits and being given band-aid type remedies instead of whole body solutions. And I think that's how a lot of people have organically come across what we do.
Yeah.
We get a lot of phone calls of people that will say, I have this random rare condition. Can you help me? And my answer is always the same. I'm not sure, but let's try. And
Mm-hmm.
I can say that truly, in 100% of the cases we've seen, we have given the patient relief. And that is from everything from neuropathy to rheumatoid arthritis to, oh God, I have a million things running through my head right now.
Yeah.
So I would say the 4 benefits of cannabis massage. First of all, you have the reduction of pain and inflammation. So you can say that it works like an analgesic. So when talking to our patients, a lot of patients understand the use of pharmaceuticals and over-the-counter meds, right? So
Yeah.
it's easy for them to speak in those terms. And so I will say, it works like an analgesic. Then it also works as an anti-inflammatory. And so you can say that it works like an NSAID or a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug.
Mhm.
because that's the same effect that it's having. Um, then we have the expedition of healing time. So that's with everything from wounds, tattoos, scars, dry skin, eczema, psoriasis, pruritus, dermatitis, frostbite, um, various types of burns, from chemical burns to sunburn, hangnails, chapped lips, anything that needs to be healed. It provides cutaneous homeostasis.
Mm.
And then I'd say the fourth primary benefit is that it increases blood flow. And that helps as a massage therapist because it assists with the relaxation of the muscles and the fascia.
Okay.
So typically, when a patient gets a massage, if they come to us and they say, oh, these areas are very tight, when something is tight, there's a lack of blood flow to that area. The area has been constricted and it's not flowing the way that it needs to be.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that happens as soon as we apply this product topically, the body begins to have increased blood flow. It begins to relax. It begins to have reduced inflammation. And so the product is working while the massage therapist is working. And so
Yeah,
when patients
nice.
get up, the first thing they say is, I have never felt like this before. And it's because if you've never before had a cannabis massage, then you've never before experienced cutaneous homeostasis from head to toe.
Our
Balance.
largest organ too, like
Right.
do it up.
Exactly. And we have these receptors that are part of our endocannabinoid system that are waiting to be activated. And they're all over the surface of our skin. And they're not just on one type of skin cell, they're on all the skin cells, the macrophages, the blast cells, the mast cells, all of them. They all have receptors. And so, why are we not putting product on us every day? I
Mhm.
can say for the last 2 years, it took me a while to figure out, but I use my stuff every single day from head to toe, and my skin is the best it's been.
Mhm.
And it's just such a testimonial of the products themselves. Like I can see myself what they're doing, and it's amazing.
Well, just as you were saying, you couldn't find exactly what you needed for the massage, but going beyond that and, consistency or whatever, a massage therapist is looking for, the ingredient side of things, I know you've been posting about that lately. And just as we moved to be a greener society and really care about what we're putting in our body, can you speak to that a little bit and your products and why they are the way they are or what you look for?
Absolutely. So organic is a big thing for me. I've been a vegetarian since I was 14 years old. And when I became sick, I tried to go raw vegan just to clean my system out further, but it didn't last very long because I love cheese and honey. But once I got better, I realized that it's not just about the food labels and needing to eat organic, dye free, chemical free, preservative free food. It was also the body care products that I was using. And I had never really thought about that before, but I began, turning my soap over and turning my shampoo and conditioner and my lotion. And I realized that I couldn't pronounce the majority of the ingredients that were in these products. And I was so floored that I had gone so much of my life, and it took me practically dying, to wonder, wow, like my skin is my largest organ. How have I not paid more attention to the fact that if one of my rules that I live by is if I can't pronounce it, I don't put it in or on my body.
Totally.
Just like my rule of thumb. If I start seeing like polysorbate, blah, 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 cetyl, blah, no, no, no,
Mhm.
no,
Mhm.
no, no. Because your body, if you see ingredients like that on something, your body's working that much harder to break that substance down so that you can absorb it. And or you are absorbing chemicals that can do everything from change your hormonal levels
Yeah.
to cause allergic reactions. So when I created the line, I tried to create something. The first product was the massage oil, and I had to create something that I could spend up to 5 hours a day, elbows deep, working on patients.
Right.
And so that that is where the organic stemmed from. It was a need for purity for myself, and I knew that that would translate into my patients receiving that much better of a product.
Yeah.
So organic carrier oils, understanding that, fragrance in general, if it's not coming from an essential oil, and for my case, we use organic essential oils, but if you're using fragrance or any type of perfume or artificial type scents in general, like forget just allergies, but the hormonal imbalances that can come from fragrance are unreal. And you don't even realize that that's what's causing it. And so just having the knowledge, I just put the blog, I think I put the blog up on the website about like why organic. There is a blog about why we are organic on Primal Healing. But dye free, that's another big thing for me. So I try not to eat dye in any of my foods. So one of the big things we were asked to make was bath bombs. People wanted to have pretty colors in the water when they take a bath. But I, as the owner, I don't take baths in dye.
Right.
Because I don't eat dye. So therefore I can't take a bath in it either.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a personal preference for me. So I had to come up with a solution of how to still be able to take a beautiful bath, but actually bathe in ingredients that are beneficial to my body, not just something that looks cool. Right.
Right.
And so we created our soak, and it's rich in dehydrated milk, which milk, basically the protein of milk, breaks down dead skin cells.
Hmm.
So while you're bathing, not only is it enriching your skin, your body is detoxifying itself by ridding itself of excess skin cells.
Lovely.
And it's rich in magnesium. So the magnesium is helping to relax those muscles. And so it's great to do before bed. I have a lot of patients or clients that purchase it, that bathe their children at night. It helps their children relax, both the magnesium and the CBD. So it's beneficial for the body in all ways. There's just no need to worry about preservatives or anything artificial.
Well, when you're looking for a CBD product, you're looking for wellness. And so if you're finding products with those things that you've mentioned, it's kind of counteracting what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how do you help someone differentiate between wanting a CBD massage and a full cannabis massage? Like what would be the difference?
So we technically will use the full plant, so THC as well, whenever we go into a patient's home, hotel, or business, unless they specifically request that we do not. Then
Mm-hmm.
we will do CBD only. Otherwise, we encourage the entourage effect and we encourage full plant medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Both are effective, but I will say for certain that the more cannabinoids you can have in a product, the more effective it will be.
For sure. And
Absolutely.
so what are people's experiences with the cannabis massage? Are they worried about, the euphoria brain wise and psychoactively?
Um, Generally, the most common question we get is, will this make me high? And then the second one would be, will I fail a drug test? Those are just
Yes.
the two biggest concerns. Will it make me high? Well, there's no psychoactive high associated with the use of cannabis massage. However, there is a very euphoric, relaxed state that does occur. I just said this in a in a lecture I gave yesterday. Out of 100 people, 98 of them are going to say, "Oh my God, I've never felt anything like that in my entire life." One of those people is going to say, I don't really feel it. And that other one person is going to say, oh my God, I've never been this high. I'm so high right now. And so I think it has everything to do with individuals' endocannabinoid systems. Just
Sure.
as we can have variances in our endocrine system or our cardiovascular system, we can have those same variances in our endocannabinoid system. And so the majority of people all stand up and say the exact same thing. I cannot, what did you just do to me? I've never felt
Mhm.
anything like this in my life. And then, like I said, you have that, 1% that says, I don't know, but I mean, hey, the massage felt great.
Right. Well, that's just it. It's like, you're probably feeling euphoric after a massage anyhow, whether you're
Right.
getting cannabis rubbed on you or not. So,
Exactly.
and how do you answer the drug test question?
So to date, none of our patients have ever failed a drug test from the use of cannabis. So I just always say to date because that's the best way to answer the question. In other
Mhm.
words, maybe perhaps somewhere else in the world right now, someone's failing a drug test from the use of cannabis massage, but it's none of my patients and it's never happened to us. So I do have several patients that are either former military contract or their private government contract, and they have for years, wanted to be able to utilize cannabis for health and wellness, but have been unable to. And then because of topicals, they're actually able to experience the benefits of plant medicine, but without the concern of having that, change in awareness.
Yeah. No, that's so fantastic that it's available to them. Um, so, with your knowledge, Jordan, because you're very knowledgeable, and you have quite the resume.
Yeah.
You've entered a new venture with Cannabis MD as a medical expert. So, how's that going? What's your role?
It's going great. I am writing for them various articles about cannabis topicals and how they work with the body. I've written about arthritis. I've written about neuropathy. They gave me the opportunity and the platform to share my story and my journey, um, that took me from a life of pharmaceuticals to a life of wellness. And I think, let me see, what am I working on right now? The 5 most important benefits of cannabis massage.
Mm.
Um, just because I'm kind of just working as a topicals and medical expert because I have the background of being a nurse. So I have the credibility that they were seeking. There
Mhm.
are several other doctors. There's even a veterinarian that's
Cool.
on this incredible staff with me, and so I'm very grateful. They have, let's see, the editor is in. He's kind of on the border of France and Spain. I believe the SEO team is in Ireland. Some are in England. Some of the
Quite
writers,
international.
they are. They really, really are. And they're trying very hard to make it be a real, credible source. It's not full of advertisements. If you
Mhm.
go there, there's no little widgets popping up. And there's so many CBD and cannabis based websites that when you go to them, all you see is these pop ups of advertisements of buy your CBD online here, buy this here. And that's not what they're about. They're the
Right.
opposite of that. And I respect that so very much. And I'm just so grateful to be part of their team.
Yeah, congratulations. Really amazing.
Thank you so much.
I want to share another aspect that we haven't talked about yet, which is your activism. And so, for those of you who don't know, I met Jordan at a pretty cool ass party she held with my friend Rachel. And that was before I was out of the canna closet. And it was honestly that group of women who just really welcomed me in. And that's something really fascinating about the cannabis community. I met other women there like Lainey and Katie who've been on the podcast, and more that will probably be. So I just am so grateful to Jordan for being a leader
Oh,
in
thank
so many different ways, as you've heard with, going against the grain and her nursing experience and all of this to create the cannabis massage and topicals companies that she has, and leaving her home and just pursuing what's true to you. So one of the areas you've really impressed me is with your activism, and I continued to follow you after hanging out at the party because I wanted to be closer to you and know what you were doing with Normal
you.
and as the executive director of Normal. So can you tell us about your time with Normal as now that's coming to a close?
Absolutely. So when I first started my company, I really wanted to have a brick and mortar facility. And I realized very quickly that the law, both Amendment 20 and Amendment 64, neither of those laws supported me having a brick and mortar. And I was very confused by that, because I thought that we were supposed to be these progressive leaders and so on. And my ex had recently become employed by Normal, and I had heard about them and read about them in High Times magazine in high school, but I was always afraid when I lived in Florida to be an activist because I was afraid I'd go to jail just for speaking out about the plant.
Yeah.
And so when I realized I lived in this place where activism was okay but lacking, um, I started to just kind of wonder what would happen if I started a chapter. And so I contacted a few of my closest friends at the time, and I said, would you be on my board? I need like 5 people to be on my board. And I made a Facebook, group or whatever, and I created the first event. And I think our first meeting had like 7 people at it. And like 5 or 6 of us ended up becoming officers that night. And I was actually elected executive director that night. My ex had an intern, and the intern nominated me and said, "Who else would be in charge? This is your idea." And I was like, "Oh, I don't
Okay.
know. Like I've always been the secretary, like I'd been in
Yeah.
high school and stuff, and I loved being on boards, but like I don't know why, but I hadn't even thought about the fact that I was going to be in charge of the damn thing.
Mhm.
And so right away we decided that we were going to tackle the issue of public consumption. And so we worked on a campaign called Responsible Use Denver, and we attempted to legalize the responsible use of cannabis in the city of Denver. And the campaign, made a lot of great headway. And then unfortunately, we were unable to make the ballot. And another initiative ended up passing, and it caused all this confusion. But we carried on and we worked on employers' rights and safety. And I held monthly meetings for about 4 years. As you mentioned, we recently made the decision as a board to come to a close. We had some issues happen, and felt unsupported in several aspects. And the best thing for us to do was to dissolve.
Mhm.
Um, it was and is continuing to be one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my career. Normal took up about 60% of my time. We won Nonprofit of the Year 2 years in a row, 2017 and 2018. And I'm very, very honored that the community chose us as their Nonprofit of the Year. We tried very hard to create a space for like-minded individuals to feel comfortable, to learn something, to understand policy better, to understand their community better. And we created a family in doing
Yeah.
so. And I miss my board so much. I miss my meetings so much. It was at the end, it was very difficult in between meetings. But when I would get to the meeting, I would see this incredible community of anywhere from 60 to 100 people every month that would just be so happy to see each other and to be around one another and consume together in this safe space. And I miss that part. Uh,
That was so incredible, George. I've only was able to attend 2 meetings and they were packed and I was so warmly welcomed, and especially the February meeting, like we had Drug Policy Alliance, we had politicians, we had a
Black
speaker for
History
Black
Month.
History Month. Like it was so well rounded and so inspiring, and that was one meeting that I went to. So I'm sad that I missed out on all the others, and you know.
And I am too. And I've had a lot of people have asked us, what are we going to do now? Like, are we going to create another organization? Are we going to have more meetings? And I did organize kind of like a social sesh last week where I just kind of sent out a random Instagram post and I put it on Facebook. Just, if you want to hang out with us, come to Studio 420. And we had, I think, 25 people um, just kind of show up. And considering I gave people like 3 days notice, that was pretty awesome. But it just reminded me again, it was the first time I was around all of those people and I wasn't at the front of the room
Mhm.
talking. I
Yeah.
just got to be a person.
And two, I mean, the meetings were a fun social aspect, but I attended a lobby day as well. Like I had never done
Yes.
any of this before. I'd never the whole cannabis movement. I have never been so inspired to be an advocate and make calls and show up. But for you to just open your arms and invite people and make it easy to be an advocate was incredible.
That was our goal. We just wanted to empower people. We wanted people to understand that politicians work for us and
Mhm.
they have open door policies and they have regular office hours. And if you have a problem with your community, not just cannabis centric, if you have a problem with the roads in your neighborhood or anything, your politicians are your line of defense. That's who you have to talk to get things to change.
Mhm.
And if you've never been to a state capitol or to a city and county building, you don't realize that that's how it works. But city and government and state government officials, even at the national level, of course, they would prefer you to make an appointment, but you can always stop by an office at any time during regular working hours and speak with their aide, because the aide is the right hand man or woman. They
Mhm.
are the literally the person that's going to probably know more and talk to you more about your specific issue.
Yeah.
And so I I got to learn so much. I got to go to Washington D.C. and lobby at the national level 4 years in a row. We had each year that we did lobby days, we added another lobby day. We had incredible fundraisers every year. We hosted the Grow Safety Symposium. Here in Colorado, it's of course legal to grow and cultivate cannabis in your home. However, there's no set standard rules on any website that you can go to other than our state website, where it just basically says how many plants you can grow, but they don't teach you what wattage of light you're
Mhm.
using in your wall. And is the wattage of light you've just plugged in to grow those plants compatible with the outlet that you just plugged it into?
Yikes, yeah.
And if it's not, you need to have an electrician come and install different lines. What is your plumbing situation like? Is your plumbing new or old? If it's old, do you need to do any modifications to water those plants? There's
Mhm.
all these things, aspects, security. We would always have a gentleman come in that trains dogs how to be your security system,
Oh,
because it's
wow.
not just about having an alarm, but what about training your best friend to protect your grow? There's
Mhm.
all these aspects that have a part of growing that no one is providing education on. So we created this incredible event that we did a few years in a row, where that's exactly what we did. We covered all aspects from pesticides to lights to electric. And we educated consumers how to safely cultivate in the privacy of your home.
So cool.
We tried to be a source of education, both for lawmakers and for consumers. And I miss it very much. I will forever be grateful for my time with Normal. It's been a hell of a ride, and I wish that things could be different.
Right. Onward and upwards, though. You've got it going on still. You've got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yes, ma'am. I'm switching gears to 100% Primal now. So
I can't imagine how that's going to just explode if you were spending 60% of your time on Normal, which was awesome. But like to put that into your own, baby is amazing. So keeping with the education, what are your favorite resources for people that are like, I want to know more about cannabis? Teach me.
So one of my favorite resources is an old book. It's called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. It was formerly called the Hemp Bible. It was written by Jack Herrera, a very famous cultivator. It's all about the history and prohibition of the book. Some will report that there's some bias information in there that has to do with the prohibition, but it's quite honestly one of the best sources of information for the history and the prohibition of the plant. Mm-hmm. Then another book that I always recommend to my students of Cannabis Massage and to my patients in general, it's called Cannabis Saved My Life. It's a compilation of stories of patients from around the US. There's at least 50 individuals in the book, and I'm one of them. And it tells all of our stories of how this plant saved our lives. And so it will tell you the age of the individual, the diagnoses that they were experiencing, and how the plant worked with them and for them. And I recommend this book because there are still so many people in this country and world that do not believe. And the power of the plant is very real. And so I recommend this book because it educates people real stories of real people. And it will make anyone believe. Wow. So I would say those are two of my favorites that I definitely recommend.
I will link those in the show notes. Sounds fantastic. So Jordan, what do you have going on this summer? Where can people find you? How can they take your course?
So you can find the Topicals at primalhealing.com. If you are interested in placing an order, just send over an email and we will give you further instructions from there. If you want to mention that you heard us on this amazing podcast, we'd be happy to honor 20% off of your
purchase.
So please just be sure to mention that. And if you would like to book a cannabis massage, you can find us at primaltherapeutics.co. You can also find both companies on Facebook under their names, Primal Healing and Primal Therapeutics. On Instagram, we are at Primal Therapeutics or at Primal Healing Topicals. And then Twitter is at Cannabis Massage. If you do want to book an appointment, you can do that both from the Facebook page or from our website. There's a button that should say book now. Just click that and we'll get you scheduled. This summer, I'm incredibly honored and excited. American Spa Magazine, they're the largest, most important publication to the spa industry. They are having the first ever American Spa CBD Summit, and it's taking place August 4th through the 6th, right here in Denver. And I'm speaking on an incredible panel with several other distinguished faculty, and I'm so incredibly excited. I think we're also going to sponsor the cocktail hour. And we're so excited for the chance. And then in October, we will be doing a breakout session. There's only 2 chosen for each conference, and we're one of the 2. But it's the International Aesthetics, Cosmetics, and Spa Conference. And we're also going to be in booth 1015. And that's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, October 6th through the 8th. So I'm going back to my roots and going back to Florida. And I'm speaking at one of the largest spa conferences in the country, and I'm teaching them cannabis massage.
How full circle.
I know, I'm so excited.
That's so cool.
So yeah, those are our two big events. And then of course we have my classes are ongoing. Our next one is June 29th. If you're interested in that, send me an email at primaltherapeutics@gmail.com or to jordan@primalhealing.com. Then we have our In Bliss series. So you mentioned the amazing event that we met at. I kind of started those events as a personal need. They've now grown to something that I want to share with the community. So we've created a series of events that correspond with the changing of the seasons. And they're always on a Sunday. So it's a self-care Sunday.
Yeah.
And during those events, we do cannabis massage, cannabis facials, cannabis foot soaks. This one, we're doing flower crowns. We're doing a blunt and joint rolling class. We're doing chakra and aura cleansing. So just a lot of self-care rituals that we don't take the time for, that each time the seasons change, they need to be changed just a little bit to match that season and what your body needs. And so we're so excited for our next one, which will be on June 3rd, and that's Blazing in Bliss. And then stay tuned for our fall one, which will be Bundled in Bliss.
Cute. Okay, you said June 3rd. Did you mean July?
No, June 23rd. Sorry.
Oh, cool. Okay, so coming right up. Wow, that sounds like I need to get work off.
You sure do.
Need to talk to Jess. Wow, so amazing. You're doing the most and you're doing it well.
Thank you so much.
Is there anything else you would like to share on this platform?
No, I think you've so covered everything, and thank you for the great questions. And just for anyone that's listening, whether you're a pharmacist or a nurse or you work at a restaurant, if you've wondered what cannabis can do for your life, your endocannabinoid system is communicating with you and it's asking for balance. So listen to it and activate it. And if you have questions, ask someone who knows, because it can help you and it can change your life.
Agreed. I second that. Thank you so much, Jordan. This was fantastic.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Cannabis, the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and give a 5-star rating. You can find more information about mindfulness and what I do at tidytor.com. Follow the Cannabis over to Instagram and connect with me through direct message anytime. Big love.